Good morning, students. In previous lecture, we have seen the scheduling of operating system. How the process is scheduled with the help of operating system. And we also learn about the objective of scheduling. Today we learn about the priority of processes. Generally, when we say the particular people having the more priority, means what? The importance of that particular people is more as compared to others. So the same concept is used in the operating system. When we set the priority of a particular process, then the importance of that particular process is more as compared to other processes which is resides in a queue. Okay, so the priority scheduling, it is a method of scheduling processes that is based on priority. When we say priority means what? It becomes more important than others. So in operating system, each process have its own priority. So the process which having the highest priority is to be executed first, and so on. So the process with the same priority are executed on the first come first serve basis. Means what? The process which is come first in a queue will be executed first. Okay. So the priority can be decided based on the memory requirements, then time requirements or any other resource requirement. Okay. So based on the memory requirement and time requirements, the priority of that process is scheduled, or it can be decided with the help of memory requirement and the time requirement. Then the priority scheduling provides some philosophy. That is the first one. It is your preemptive priority scheduling, or you can call as a preemptive priority scheduling or preemptive policy. Okay, so the scheduling philosophies provides the two priority scheduling. First one is the preemptive and the second one is the non-preemptive. What is the meaning of preemptive priority? If a new process is arrive at the ready queue or it has the higher priority than the currently running process, the CPU is preempted. So whenever CPU is preempted means what? The processing of current process is stopped and the incoming new process with the higher priority gets the CPU for its execution. Okay. This is the meaning of preemptive. So what happened in preemptive policy? The processing of the current process is stopped and the incoming new process with the higher priority gets the CPU for its execution. But the non-preemptive priority scheduling, it is the opposite of preemptive. So what is happen in non-preemptive priority scheduling? If a new process arrives with the higher priority, then then the incoming process is put at the head of the ready queue. Okay, which means what? After the execution of current process, it will be proceed. See, what is the difference between preemptive and non-preemptive? In preemptive, the current process is stopped and the new incoming process with the higher priorities gets executed. But in non-preemptive priority, the new incoming process is set into the ready queue, okay, or put into the ready queue, and the execution of current process is done. After that, the new incoming process will be proceed. This is the difference between preemptive and non-preemptive. Okay, in preemptive, the current process is stopped, but in non-preemptive, first current process is executed and then new incoming process will be proceed. Then your next topic is the multitasking. So you heard about the multitasking operating system. Means what? the multitasking operating system allow user to perform the more than one computer task at a time. Okay, so multitask means what? Multiple tasks. So this operating system supports the multiple tasks run at a time. So the operating system is able to keep track of where you are in this task and go from one to other without losing the information. So the task, it can be defined as an asynchronous code path within the process. So the in multitasking, the process can consist the multiple tasks which run simultaneously. So the multiple tasks should be able to run concurrently within the process. For example, suppose in your modern operating system, we are able to play MP3 music, then edit the documents in a Microsoft Word, then serve the Google Chrome. All these works we done simultaneously. So this is accomplished by the means of multitasking. It is the best example of multitasking. Okay. Then after that you have the multi-threading concept. What is the meaning of thread? The process is divided into the number of threads. Okay. So thread, it is also the part of process, or you can say that thread, it is a lightweight process. Each thread is belongs to exactly one process and no threads can exit outside the process. So it is the same as a multitasking where a thread is same as a task. Okay. So each thread represents the separate flow of control. The threads have been successfully used in implementing the network server as well as the web server. For example, when we work on a VLC media player, where one thread is used for opening the VLC media player, then the second thread is for playing the particular song, and the other thread is for adding the new songs to be the playlist. This all work is done under the VLC media player. Okay, means what? The VLC media player is your process, and the different, it is divided into the thread. So when you opens the VLC media, then you play the particular song and you can add the new song. This is nothing but your thread. Okay, understand the difference between process and thread. VLC media, it is your process, and when you play the VLC media player, then when you play the particular song or when you add the new song, this becomes your thread. This is the concept of multi-threading. Your next term is a time sharing. So as you all know, the operating system supports the multitasking, multi-programming. Means what? Multiple tasks can run at the same time, or it can be run concurrently or simultaneously. Each process having its own time for execution purpose. So for all of this, you require the time sharing concept. What is the time sharing technique? It is used which enables the many people located at the various terminals to use the particular computer system at the same time. Okay, so the time allocated for that people with the help of processes or with the help of length of the process. Okay, so the time sharing, it is a logical extension of the multi-program. In multi-programming, the multiple programs run simultaneously. For that, you require the time sharing concept. Okay, so the processor times which is shared amongst the multiple users simultaneously, it is termed as the time sharing. Okay, so what is the job of time sharing? It shares the processor time. So the short period of time during which a user gets the attention of CPU, it is known as the time slice. What is the meaning of time slice? The short period of time during which user gets the attention of CPU. And this is a very short time. It is called as the time slice in a time sharing. You can see the time sharing concept with the help of this diagram. In this diagram, there are the 6 users are present. Okay, you can see the user 5, it is in an active state, and the user 6, it is in a ready state. Okay, and the user 1, user 2, user 3 and user 4 are in a waiting state. So the user is gone through the 3 states, that is the active state, ready state and the waiting state. CPU time is moved on the clockwise direction. So you can see what is the meaning of active states. The user program is under the control of CPU. So only one program is available in this state. So you can see the user 5, it is in a active state and it is under the control of the CPU. Then you can see the user 6, it is in a ready state. So the user program is ready to execute, but it is waiting for its turn to get the CPU. So whenever the user 5, the process which is consist in a user 5 is executed, after that the user 6 is able to execute their process. Means what? After user 5 is completed, the user 6 is having the control of CPU. Okay, so the more than one user can be in a ready state at a time. After that you have a waiting state. Means what? The user's program is waiting for some input and output operations. So more than one users can be in a waiting state at a time. This is all about the time sharing concept. Okay, now you can see what is the advantage and disadvantage of the time sharing system. The first advantage is what? It is the quick response. Means what? After process 1 execution, the CPU gets its times to the next one. So it is a quick response. Then it can avoid the duplication of software and reduce the CPU idle time. Then what is the disadvantage of this? The problem of reliability, because if there are n number of processes available, then it becomes a very tedious for operating system. So it comes to the unreliable. Then the second one is the question of security and integrity of user programs and the data. If there are the multiple processes are there, then the security problems may occur and integrity of user problems is also occur. Then the problem of data communication is also happens in the time sharing concept. This is all about the time sharing, its advantage and its disadvantage. Okay. The next part of the memory management will be learned in our next lecture. Okay. Goodbye.